Hi guys, Trisha here from Decisive Designs, bringing you one of my essays from college. I love telling stories. Writing was never my forte, but telling stories was. Um, when I was a I'm gonna say in high school, seventh, eighth grade, I used to worry about going back to school after summer because what happens when I do go back to school, the first thing your English teacher says, or my English teacher says, is write an essay on your summer vacation. So, because we didn't have much to travel on vacation. Vacation was never a word in my vocabulary growing up um, back then. But when I go to school, the first thing the teacher would say is, write an essay on your summer vacation. So I kind of dwell on that word when I got summer break, and I often thought about that. So I would do something or go somewhere within my village to come up with a good, interested essay. Um, and when I go back to school, in order to be an effective writer, to put something that is worth reading on the paper so I can get a good grade. So this is one of my English 101 essay, and it's on the book The Distance Between Us by Reyna Grande. The social factors that were most influential in the lives of the struggling immigrants were education, gender, family background, and socioeconomic status. My introduction to this book was, in a country well governed, children shouldn't pay the price for an adequate economic system, as children are not supposed to go through such hardship. While Reyna's parents were searching for hope on foreign soil, their children were suffering. Little girls and boys are not to be responsible or left in charge of siblings, as relatives care little about them. This has been happening for years when parents are to protect children at all cost. Little Reyna had to go through poverty and a life without parents, as 2,000 miles separated her and her siblings from them. Reyna's life changed dramatically when her mother left. The distance was agonizing. She couldn't understand why her mother had to leave. She worried most days that her parents created a better life without her and her siblings. As Reyna's passion and pain confronted her, she experienced sorrowful moments. As I reflect on the words of Kobe Emin, I don't know if I'm saying that, pronouncing that. Well, the last name is spelled Annan. Extreme poverty anywhere is a threat to human security everywhere. I felt that quote touched me in a way where I can sit and write a good essay or a good paragraph just on that sentence, because Reyna experienced um, something that every child that had been left behind experienced in those days. And I continue. I knew that all Reyna wanted was security of having her parents back, not some fancy life with picket fence and brick house. And basically, that quote carried this paragraph home and end in a way where I can continue and pick up on that last sentence in order to piggyback on the introduction to this book. Gender and responsibility. As I flip the page, furthermore, life without deprivation, no possibility of having an education, and to live in her father's dream home, seem impossible. Growing up, Reyna's father was poor. He had to help his father work to maintain the bills instead of getting an education. Education for him wasn't a choice. The role of a male in the same in every family is the same in every family. I'm sorry, let me read that again. The role of a male is the same in every family. It doesn't matter if you are in the United States of America or Mexico. Men are often forced into jobs they don't like but do them to care for their families. My father left me at an early age so he could work to support us. Even though he left legally on a contract to America, he didn't return after the contract ended. Years later, he told me if he had returned, we would have been in the same situation. Reyna's father knew when he couldn't find work in Mexico, he had to think quickly. He sought out an opportunity to go to America, even though it was legally. I felt that I wanted to say illegally there, but it came out legally. He knew life would be better and he would obtain work to support his family. Unfortunately, he couldn't save the money he needed to build his house, so he sent for his wife. So, oftentimes, just to explain that last sentence, oftentimes it happen where you hear you need two to survive. Raina's father was in America by himself, and his dreams seems depleted, seems dead, and now he wants to bring his wife in order to make everything a reality. And two is better than one in a lot of cases. All right, so he did just that. And oftentimes, and that's why sometimes we marry to live in a nice house, to be secure financially. Most of the time, that's what that means being married. That's why a lot of independent people, they thrive on their education because they don't want to lean on someone else to support them. Okay, so poverty goes here to say, additionally, the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. And that's from Roosevelt. Poverty is the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient in amount. And the Webster Dictionary defined poverty as that. Poverty had an enormous effect on Reyna's family. It was the only reason her father left to seek work. In comparison to living in a house with dirt flooring, going to bed without meals, having no running water, and eating from garbage or ground. Um, and I took that from chapter 6. Reyna told the story of packing up a mango from the ground and would always be looking for uneaten food on the side of the road. Um, Destitution causes us to do unlikely acts. That's how I explain that sentence from the book. When we're destitute, it causes us to do unlikely acts that you would never do before. It's like a mind game. It lets your mind think, and that's why you have people on the street begging for money to buy food. A great segment of our society is living below poverty line. It was shockingly revealed to Reyna when she realized no one had told her that there is something more powerful than La Lorena, a power that takes away parents, not children. It's called the United States, the country that promises hope and dreams for many immigrants. So I love how I ended that third paragraph with that. I feel like that's powerful. Also, I wanted people to know that um, America is a dream for some people. It's a hope for some people. It's advancement for some people. But what a lot of people don't realize, and I'm gonna say a lot of immigrants, because I'm not gonna touch on the American people. What a lot of immigrants don't realize is when you come to America, it's a strange country. It's different from the way you lived or had lived before. It's a country that you have to provide for yourself financially in order to develop any kind of sense of security here. Why? Because you can't go catch, and I'm gonna say catch meaning share an apartment. In Jamaica, we say catch because you're not at liberty to anything in the house. So you can't go catch with someone for the rest of your life, right? And be lazy and think like, okay, I don't have any bills to pay, so I'm not gonna look work. This country is. And I'm going to put myself in the situation. If you come to my house, I want some kind of financial security because my electric bill will increase. My food bill will increase, right? And my heating bill will increase. So when you think about it, when you bring someone else into your house, everything increases. So you have to make sure that you help that person find work in order for you to survive with that person or in order for that person to survive because an addition to the family increases everything. And if you don't change your job to match someone coming in, or you don't make sure that person go to work and pay some of the bills, sometimes you end up get left outside the door. So that's why a lot of people refrain from bringing someone into their house, even if it's for one night. And oftentimes, if they have the money, they'll say, you know what, here's $200, go to a hotel. You're my good friends. You helped me out back home. But unfortunately, I can't bring it into my house. So this book really, really hits home in a lot of corners for a lot of cultures, a lot of people, knowing that every day we live this life, that we need to be increased, we need to be advanced in order to live, because we are ambitious people, we have ambitions, we're ambitious people trying to live a life of pride. A lot of times we're like, oh, she's so prideful. Oh my goodness, take it easy. It's not so, hard. Or, Lord God, it's not so much, but you know what you have to go through and you live according to that. Okay? So I love that. So the conclusion of this paper goes, and I like it. It's short and sweet. It reflects back to the front of the page. And when you write a good essay, you start strong and you finish strong, and you have to repeat stuff in order for the reader to get it. A lot of times, what the professor is looking for is connection to the book, connection to your paper, and connection to other paper. If the other student paper doesn't connect to this, then either your paper is wrong, or maybe not wrong, but you didn't do it in a way that the professor wants it, then you're not going to get a good grade. All right. So, conclusion: the social factors that were most influential in the lives of the struggling immigrants were poverty, education, and family background. And I end it with a nice quote: every life deserves a certain amount of dignity, no matter how poor or damaged the shell that carries it. And that come from Rick Brogg. I try to, and sometimes I don't know how I get them. I research, I go to the library first when I get a book to write. I go to the library first. I go to any source that read the book if I can, you know. A lot of people are readers, and you can call them. I wanted to join a reading group once, but the time wasn't within my schedule, because it's good to hear different opinions. And I think that's why Oprah has a book club. It's good to hear different opinions and different backgrounds of the same book, because how I apply it to my life is different. Should it be? I don't know. I think the world think differently. And in a country that is based primarily, I don't want to be quoted for that, on immigrants, it's good to develop a sense of purpose when it comes to a topic. So that is my introduction and take on the distance between us. This could carry a lot of conversation. There were a lot of chapters that I didn't touch. There were a lot of things that happened that I didn't touch, because I felt that it needed a paper, an entire paper on its own. But what I touched on is poverty, because that's the main ingredient that causes us to move. because we want to increase, we want to feed our family. So I really touched on that. And then I touched on the things that cause poverty or the things that could increase. Education could take you from poverty to, a regular citizen. Gender was a factor as well. A lot of families back then take their children out of school to either support their other siblings. Like my grandmother had 18 children. So kids were taking care of kids. Family background has a lot to do with it. A lot of us grew up in a background where there is no one in that family that had reached the college level of education. So that's definitely, good to look at. And then the psycho economic status in a country. When a lot of companies increase that 3% yearly, they listen to the presidential budget, right? Because they don't want to give an increase and they're not getting an increase, right? So they're smart enough to make sure they listen to the budget. And oftentimes, I'm gonna piggyback on this because I was in a nursing system for a long time. They listen to the budget with Medicaid and Medicare, the little cuts or the little increase, because that makes their business, right? And I wanted to touch on Medicaid a little bit as well, knowing that a lot of people are still on the streets begging. Now, some of them are faking it, and some of them really needs the money. They need to change. Now, is it their mind? Is it some kind of psychosocial going on? Maybe that they had gone through something that led them to it. I remember watching Hoarder